Since I remember myself as a child, something in this world that I came into felt like, are you kidding me? Like, is this all? Like, there was something missing, which I didn't know how to put the finger on. I didn't know what to say. It was just like this inner feeling of like, this can't be it. So it led me to be a seeker in a very early age, very, very early age. When Buddhism came into my bookshelf with Siddhartha of Hermann Hesse, that was like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I am. I'm a Buddhist. And for the next years, I was just like meditating and reading and deepening my education in Zen, mainly in Zen. So I said, well, if I'm not biased against the religious people, which I was as a secular boy, but if I take away the bias, maybe they know something. So I stepped into the Jewish religion, into the Kabbalistic stream of Hasidut after high school. I thought I'm going to go there for like half a year or something, just to taste it, and I stayed for decades. Sacredness is intimacy. Sacred moment is when we feel one with the world, one with God, when we feel intimate with reality. We feel that something is different. The vibe of the space is different, that we are in a different space, and this is sacred. Sacredness is intimacy. I couldn't focus on, put priority on, having a job, making money, because I needed for years to focus on my own things, to understand how to be how to be a human, how to be a human being. What are my emotions? Who's responsible for what's happening here? How do I take care of that? How to live in integrity? What does it mean? I think maybe now I'm ready to make some money. A lot of my work is focusing on this tremendous shift in human beings from seeing their lives as a series of mistakes, traumas, pains, with some happy moments, to a life of initiations that help them really grow into their soul mission. There is nothing that makes me more happy than seeing people living the life of their soul, not just surviving, not just having a job and a family, which is beautiful, but when you see a person that is in their mission, in their integrity, their life is pouring through them.
And I guess
And
this is your soul mission, right?
this is my soul mission. Yeah, exactly.
Hello, we're with Ohad Pele today,
I,
and we're going to talk a bit.
Mhm.
So, Ohad, who is Ohad? Who is Ohad Pele? Can you talk about a bit about yourself,
I
about your
was hoping
childhood?
that you will tell me, who is he? Who is this guy? I don't know.
Well, I'm really curious about you. I really want to hear more about you. I know a bit, but I know that there's a lot more.
Stories can be told in many ways, and depends what you want to emphasize and to look at. So I will need more direct.
Yeah, where were you born?
Oh, okay. This body, in this incarnation, I was born in Israel, in the north of Israel, and in a beautiful family that had nothing spiritual, nothing religious, nothing spiritual, just a simple, secular, middle class family. And
Do you have any siblings?
I have a sister that is older than me in 5 years. We had a dog, and yeah, but something, since I remember myself as a child, something in this world that I came into felt like, are you kidding me? Like, is this all? Like, there was something missing, which I didn't know how to put the finger on. I didn't know what to say. It was just like this inner feeling of like, this can't be it. So it led me to be a seeker in a very early age, very, very early age.
What age are we talking about?
Well, I believe I started to kind of seek meaning somewhere when I was 12 or something like that. And of course, as a child, and started to read books that I couldn't understand, like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and Carlos Castaneda, when I was 12, I think, yeah, 11,
How
12.
how did you find them? Did anyone direct you or?
This I cannot remember. There was no teacher or mentor or anything like that. Just by chance, I guess, or maybe friends, or can't remember. But I do remember being fascinated by things that I could not understand, but I felt like this is it. This is the thing. And when I was 14, I found a boarding school that was dedicated for environmental studies that was located deep in nature in the desert in Israel, like 8 hours drive from my house, from my home. And I just begged my parents to register me, and they did. Thank God. They were not happy about it, but I was so happy. I was so excited. I found myself in the desert, in nature. It was one of the happiest days of my life, just like changing from my urban environment to nature, to wild nature, wilderness, desert. And there I continued reading. And when Buddhism came into my bookshelf with Siddhartha of Hermann Hesse, that was like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I am. I'm a Buddhist. And for the next years, I was just like meditating and reading and deepening my education in Zen, mainly in Zen. Yeah, eventually, all this searching and reading, I was rarely in school, actually. To my good luck, I showed up for exams and got a good grade. My teachers were upset about it. And most of the time, I was either reading in the library, like I was just like sitting in the library because I felt like I really want to learn. I don't want to be in class. So I read a lot of books and I went to the desert to meditate. And after some years, I realized that some of this richness exists also in the tradition of my own ancestors in Judaism and especially in Kabbalah and Hasidut. So I said, well, if I'm not biased against the religious people, which I was as a secular boy, but if I take away the bias, maybe they know something. So I stepped into the Jewish religion, into the Kabbalistic stream of Hasidut after high school. I thought I'm going to go there for like half a year or something, just to taste it, and I stayed for decades.
Yeah. How did you start? How was it? Was it a training?
It was a study place in Jerusalem, what we call yeshiva. Yeshiva is just a study place that basically you wake up in the morning, you go to the study place and you study, and you have study mates that you all study the same texts together. There's a class here and there, someone that gives a class, and it's a very self-responsible, some ways even anarchistic study place. Like it's not like university that there is a course. It's just like you're there, you're studying. There are people who know more.
It's unique, right? We don't have this, I don't know, anywhere in the world other than Israel.
Maybe, yeah, this is the traditional Jewish thing. It's like there's everywhere. It's just like places that are dedicated for learning. And yeah, there are classes, but there is not like a course. And, so I studied and studied and studied. And eventually they sent me to I asked, and I was sent to the Kabbalistic yeshiva specifically, where all the elders are studying. And I was there. I was 20 or 21 or something, and I was just thirsty for knowledge and understanding of myself and the universe and God. I was very religious. I was, wearing black and all the hat and the payas and
So there is some shift there because you were secular, you were into Zen, you were biased against religious people, then you became a religious person, right?
Mhm. Yeah, because of the Zen. Like Zen taught me not to know nothing, like to come as a empty cup. So I realized that my bias against the religious people is coming from the media, from the ideas of my parents and whatever. And I said, like, if I want to learn anything, I need to empty myself. So I said, like, okay, you know what? I know nothing. I come to you, teach me. And they were kind enough to actually accept me and teach me. And I got the highest degree mentor, like the one of the highest, most important leaders until today. He's one of the leaders of the Orthodox religious communities in the world. He took me under his wings. For some reason, he kind of adopted me and kind of looked over me and gave me private tutors to study this and to study that. He's like a big, in Sufism, you will say he's a big sheikh. He's like he's a rabbi of. You have thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
tens
But
of thousands of
how
disciples.
was your views upon Zen and Buddhism when you became religious? Because I don't know much about Judaism, but in Islam, for example, if you become religious, you don't need to hate, but you have to reject all these other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Same in Judaism. I did reject it, but in a secret place in my heart, I always loved it. It's like a first lover. You never.
Forget. Yeah. Beautiful. And then what happened?
And then when I became a rabbi, I was asked to start teaching.
So this is, I'm sorry, this is official, right? You officially became a rabbi, no?
No, no, that's not official. Again, it's a kind of it's not a Western system. So you're recognized at a certain point as someone who holds knowledge, and people and your teachers are telling you, hey, why don't you give a class? I want you to teach these two, three people.
But your teachers are not official too, right? At some point they were recognized. Like,
Yeah, this is the official thing. It's just like that.
I
That's how
got
it
it.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not like you're being examined and da da
yeah.
da. It's just like there's organic, like recognition of the community. So I started to teach, and then they start to call you rabbi as a sign of honor. So I was a young rabbi teaching people who mostly were much older than me. And I started to teach and teach and teach, and eventually I was hired to teach in all kind of places. At the same time, my inquisitive mind asked deep questions that were they didn't like it in the Orthodox world. So I went to academy and started to study. Again, I didn't care about the having a degree or a PhD or anything. I registered, but I didn't care about it. I cared about learning.
What did you
So
study?
I studied Jewish philosophy and Jewish philosophy, and especially Kabbalah, comparative religions, and literature, and yeah, a little bit of many things, but mainly in this path of Kabbalistic knowledge. But that also, I was very fortunate to take a class with a Christian monk who was a professor and a very beautiful man, Marcel Divois. He died already, who was a professor of philosophy. So I studied Christianity with him. I studied shamanism with Professor Meged, who was one of the first people to explore the shamanic traditions in Mexico. And so I studied all kind of religion.
I don't expect a big answer, and I don't think this question is very easy to answer. But what is Kabbalah? What is Judaism? What's Kabbalah? What's the? Are they connected? Are they the same thing?
Well, the simple thing is, what people think is that Kabbalah is the secretive, the mystical aspect of Judaism. And that is true, but not the whole truth. Because Kabbalah, it is a mystical tradition, but the roots of this mystical tradition are far deeper than Judaism. The Judaism is quite a new phenomenon, relatively. I mean, it has roots, but the roots are very different than what it is today, than a religion. And it's also, like many religions, is based on a lot of politics and a lot of considerations and collective trauma that the Jews had over and over and over again. Kabbalah is a mystical tradition that is rooted. You can say there is one foot in ancient Mesopotamia and the other foot in ancient Egypt. So then, if one foot is here, one foot is there, the genitals are just above Israel. The genitals are in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, there was a collective of. Today, it's described as King Solomon. Now, whether King Solomon was a historical figure or not, I don't really care. It might be an archetype for a group of people or whatever. This archetype, King Solomon, that in Jerusalem, that it says that he was very literate in the wisdom of the East, of the Far East, which is, Iran, Persia, India on one hand, and in the wisdom of Egypt. And he married hundreds of princesses from all the regions in order to connect. And he traded a lot, and of course, traded wisdom because he was a wise person. So he collected the wisdom from the east and the south, like Mesopotamia, and where today is, like, of course, Persia and Iraq and Syria and Lebanon, and the wisdom from ancient Egypt, and created a unified tradition, a unified wisdom that, to my best understanding, this is the real origin of Kabbalah. Now, a lot of Kabbalah is very, very attached to religion. There are also other shoots like Christian Kabbalah, like occult. In the Renaissance, there were monks that were interested in the mysteries of the Jews. So they came, they studied a little bit of Hebrew, they studied a little bit of that, and understood something, and connected it with Christianity, with alchemy, and the tarot card deck came from that. Um,
From
but
Kabbalah?
yeah, from the Kabbalah that was connected through the Christian occult groups.
Isn't Kabbalah itself occult?
Well, it is, but it's yeah, you can say that it's a mystery school. It's a mystery
Correct.
school, but the thing is that there is not such a thing as Kabbalah in some ways. It's like Kabbalah is not a tree with many branches, but a forest with many trees.
It's not a religion, right?
No, it's not a religion. It's not a religion. It's attached to all kind of religions, especially to Judaism. But I'm trying to detach it and make it. I'm not the first one. There were Kabbalistic wise people along the years that were understanding that this is actually not for the Jews. It's like Tibetan Buddhism is not for the Tibetan people. Although it comes with a lot. I mean, it's really hard to understand Tibetan Buddhism without understanding the Tibetan culture and the deities and how it came. It's the same. Zen Buddhism is not for Japanese. Sufism is not for Turkish people.
Yeah. I think the origins of Sufism is not Turkey
Persia,
or
yeah.
Persia, I guess, but yeah. So let's come back to you.
Mhm.
And where were we? You became a religious Persian a person, and and you were still in love with your first lover, Buddhism, Zen, and then
And then slowly I realized that the religious world is not actually what I'm is not presenting the life that I actually understand that I want to live as a human being, as a sacred life. And I started to ask deep questions that they didn't like. Eventually, it led to me leaving. In the year 2000, I actually left the Orthodox world. Then I got ordained officially by Rabbi Zalman Shechter Shalomi, who again recognized me. I didn't go and study for this. It's just like he tested me, asked me all kind of questions, and asked me to write something, and then he basically recognized me in his lineage as a rabbi in his lineage, which is a lineage that is what was called back then the Jewish renewal, a lineage that emphasized the spiritual path and the care for the ecology, basically. The care for the planet, not for a specific land, not a specific people, but for the planet and for the soul. And that's basically, I'm very much into that. I come from the Jewish people, but I'm not here for the Jewish people. I'm here for the world. And what I'm teaching, I'm trying to make it clear that it's relevant for human beings. Although a lot of it come from the Hebraic roots and wisdom, what I'm trying to do is to in some ways redeem this wisdom from the chains of religion and hand it to people who want to be close to live a sacred life. So it's not a secular thing, but it's not a religious thing. Like it's a sacred living.
I have a lot of questions, but I want to step like one step back. What were your questions in the when you were religious that the religious people didn't like? You said that you started to ask questions, but what kind of questions are these?
Yeah, well, some of them were about resources that I found, sources, texts, hidden texts that I found that they are not teaching, like ancient texts.
What do they say? These things?
You shouldn't. This will distract you. I mean, they were right. They were
No,
right.
no. What were the texts saying?
Ah, well, there are different texts. There's lots of texts. I mean, there are hundreds and thousands of texts that are not the mainstream of Judaism and Kabbalah, but sometimes the more interesting ones. The thing with me is that I don't look at any text as this is the truth, but I want to see a lot of texts, a lot of ways of looking at something, and find from that in a dialogue with the texts and a dialogue with my own spirit, like find what resonates with me. They relate to texts as authority. I relate to sacred texts as source of inspiration. And it's very, very important. I also don't want anyone to take me as authority. When people take me as authority, it pisses me off. I want people to, I mean, I'm here to inspire people. I want people to relate to me as a source of inspiration. But when they make me authority, they actually deauthorize themselves. And this is not truth, because even the one Yeah, it's always your authority upon your own life. No one else takes
And
responsibility.
maybe they're putting their load on your shoulders, right?
Yeah, yeah, they're trying to, at least. I'm not taking.
Yeah, okay, good. And okay, what is sacred?
Great question. Sacredness is intimacy. Sacred moment is when we feel one with the world, one with God, one with, when we feel intimate with reality. We feel that something is different. The vibe of the space is different, that we are in a different space. And this is sacred. Sacredness is intimacy. And again, not necessarily intimacy with another person. It can be, but it can be an intimacy with a tree or with the sky, with text, with the moment. God is absolute oneness. Absolute oneness. In some ways, you can say that God is the absolute intimate.
Well, thank God I'm lucky that I experienced this. Exactly, I think the way you mentioned, you described it. But is there a way to not forget it and living in this, living in this sacredness?
I hope so. This is what I'm trying, what I'm here to do. I guide people to live sacred love. And sacred love doesn't mean, sexuality doesn't exclude sexuality, but sacred love as life. And that means, the way you wake up in the morning, the way you drink your coffee, the way you meditate, the way you pray, the way you relate to challenges in life, because life is a series of challenges that can be taken as traumas and horrible things that happen to me, or can be taken as invitations to initiation. So I'm here to guide myself and other people in these paths of how to remember again and again. We forget and we remember, and we forget and we remember. And there can be things to do, so to say, like meditations, rituals that would help us live a more sacred life. My teacher, Reb Zalman, actually said, he called it to charge the God field. He said, like, when you have a phone, so if you don't charge it, you look at it, it's just like a piece of plastic. What use is it? And he said that the same thing is with life. If you don't charge it, you feel like it's empty, just like a piece of plastic or metal or whatever it is. You need to charge it, and charging it with a divine field of consciousness, of awareness. And when we start charging, it starts to respond. And the thing is that when you live sacred life, it's not a theory. It's clear. It's your experience. Like the experience of, like, oh, this phone is charged. Yes, it has a picture. It does things or not.
We're going to come back to your story, but before that, another question. You told initiation. What is initiation?
You have good questions. Initiation is when you start a new stage in life, when you are invited into a new stage in life. Like you were a boy and later you become a man. Most men were not initiated into manhood, so they're still boys, still little boys, thinking like a boy, acting like a boy, in a body that is adult. But to be initiated,
I have some different views on that. Being a child is not bad.
no, it's not bad. Of course, it's not bad. It's beautiful. You should be a child. And then when you grow up, this child need to have a space within a higher level of awareness. Now, when you don't have this higher level of awareness, you just have a body of an adult and a broken child inside that's running you. And then as a man, you bring your child to your wife, and she wants a husband, she doesn't want a child.
Now this is much more understandable. Thank you. So I really would like to go back to your story because I'm really interested in your story.
Okay.
And okay, you went to the academic world. I don't actually remember where we, but I would like you to continue what happened in your life afterwards.
I left the Orthodox world and I got ordained by Rabbi Zalman Schechter Shalomi. I started to teach. I created an ashram. I basically said, I need a place in nature. I found a place in the desert and I moved there. And I said to people, like, hey, me and my family, my wife, my children, we're moving there. If you want, join. We're creating a space that is dogma free, open for learning and experience. Let's live together if you wish and explore what life is. So some like 20 families or something came over, moved in, and after a while we had like weekends and workshops that had hundreds of people, and we basically said like, let's put everything with a question mark. What is life? What is love? What is family? What is money? What is the Jewish? I mean, we're all Jews. It was in Israel, so what is the meaning of all the Jewish holidays? Is there a meaning, or we throw it out the window? So we started basically to explore, to learn. I gave classes every several days. I gave talks like satsang kind of thing, or text study, and it was a community of very intelligent people. So as much as they learned from me, I learned from them. Like we learned together basically, and I wrote a whole book about the Jewish holidays that is based on the wisdom that was just revealing there in our studies. We were ping ponging ideas, and it was amazing.
I was going to ask about money, and you said money. So, not only for this ashram, but what about money throughout all this story? How was it? How, like, did you need money to open the ashram? Were you a cult, by the way, this ashram thing? Was that a cult?
Back then, it wasn't called a cult. It was just a group of people. Thank God it was not, it wasn't so popular as today to call everything a cult. Yes, of course, I needed money so for the ashram. So I basically did, how do you call it? Like donations. We opened a nonprofit.
Crowdfunding kind of a thing, yeah.
Not crowdfunding. I went to some rich people, mainly in America. I went to see some rich people that understood that something need to happen, some new language need to evolve, some new spirituality need to evolve. They,
How did you reach them? Did you already know them?
friend of friend of friend. And I didn't raise millions. We also lived very very simple life. So we were happy. We lived in simple uh, houses in the desert, like caravans. Very simple, very, very simple. We were happy, and our expenses were very, very little. Yeah, I did not put my attention in all my adult life almost on making money. My attention was on making myself, and it was more urgent kind of thing. And I had children, I had wife, children. So sometimes we were very poor. There were times that we were very poor. My wife worked as a kindergartner. I was teaching classes, as I said, like I was teaching, and I was paid for that.
Do you regret that today? That you didn't concentrate on money more?
I don't live with regrets. It's not the language of my being so much. I lived what I could do. I did not. I could not just like go and focus on making money where I'm asking myself like why to live at all. Like what's like what the fuck? Just survive, just to have better, whatever, life, car, house, but what do I do in this house? So I did what I could. If I had more money today, would I have an easier life? Maybe, possibly. Do I want to? Yes, yes. I have nothing against money, just to be clear. I have nothing against money and against even having a lot of money. It was just not my priority. I wasn't against it. It was just like highest priority was meaning, and it just didn't leave me. So I was teaching, getting paid here and there, and got by.
And then with this ashram, what happened?
So we had the ashram for 5 years. Then Dawn came into my life. I met Dawn, who became my wife until now, 23 years ago. And we came together. My wife back then, she lived with me. We're still very good friends, but we realized that our paths are not the same. I wanted to explore polyamory, and we tried. She tried, I tried. And then she said, "Look, it is your path. It is indeed your path." And honestly, it's not mine. So the best loving thing to do for both of us is let go. And each of us, will continue raising the children as loving parents. For a while, we even lived together in the same house, just like that was my room, that was her room, but with in good energy. Nothing. It was just like realizing that instead of me dragging her into polyamory or she blocking me in monogamy, it's like, why? Let's allow each other to flourish. So yeah, and then I met Dawn, who was also a polyamorous person, and we got together, and eventually we decided that we want to focus our work on relationship and not on the community in the ashram. Also my children, there were a bunch of things. Children got older and they needed to go to high school, which was not there in the desert. So it all came together to a place of like, okay, we closed this experiment. Thank you very much. And many of us are still connected from the people from the ashram. Some people went and moved to live in Tamera community. We were in deep connection with the Tamera community in Portugal since they were just beginning their steps. And so several of my students or community members moved there, lived in Tamera, because they actually wanted to also to explore deeper the non-monogamy. And Don and I went and started a new center in the north of Israel, and we started to explore and to give workshops on open relating, relationships, dynamics, and stuff like that.
Why polyamory?
Just because it's the right thing for me. Nothing. I'm not an ideologist of that. I'm not telling other people what to do.
Can I ask why is it ideal for you?
I don't find myself in a place that I want to limit my beloveds to have relationships only with me. Even if I desire them, I desire that they will desire only me. I don't want to force them. I want it to come from their free choice.
Is it possible to deepen when you have a couple of relationships?
Absolutely. As I said, Don and I are still married 23 years. I mean, we're in a relationship 23 years. Out of these years, there were years that we were very much together. There were years that we were together, but each of us, she's a teacher as well, so we were flying around the world. And the last 3 years we were mainly not together. I had another relationship that was very meaningful. There were times that she had other relationships, but I would say today I have 3 meaningful long-term relationships, each one different. Some of them are sexual, some not. Doesn't need to be sexual. It's like just like deep intimacy, deep connection with each of them. And I hope it will continue for decades more. Like I'm basically a long-term relationship person. So of course I had a one night stand here, a one night stand there, or a connection that lasted for some months with some lovers, or just like loverships that never intended to go into a relationship. But that's the beauty for me of open relating, is that when you're not doing it from rebelliousness but from truth, then you ask yourself, like, what actually is bringing me to this? Is there a sacred spark in that? And some have a short lifespan, and some have long lifespan. It's not a simple path, of course.
I was just going to ask about like how to deal with jealousy. I mean, not like because there is also like, imprints of the religion, culture. Everyone is saying that, for example, in Turkey, it's horrible when you look from the religion or culture. It's totally unacceptable. And also, there's I don't know where does it come from, but there's jealousy. So how to deal with all of these?
I'll tell you how not to deal with jealousy. Do not try to force the other person to do what's convenient for you because of your insecurities. That's all. Jealousy comes from insecurity. It's a mixture of fear of being lonely, fear of not being considered worthy, fear of lack of value, all kind of fears, with anger that sometimes has to do with your childhood and unexpressed anger. So some kind of mixture of sadness, of loneliness, sadness, fear, anger. It's my thing. If I feel jealous, it's my thing. It's not a reason for me to put my beloved in a jail of my own emotions. I can share, I can share this is what I feel, but not from a place of, and because of that, you have to do such and such, or you shouldn't do such and such. I believe in deep freedom. Now, it's not always easy. The main thing is whether we want to be responsible for our own life. If I decide that in order for me not to feel this fear and sadness and anger, which we call jealousy, my wife needs to be monogamous with me, I basically didn't take care of myself. I'm still a jealous person. I'm still afraid. I'm still afraid. I'm still lonely deep inside. I'm still angry at life, and I don't want to touch it. And in order not to touch these pains, I force my partner to behave in a way that is not what she wants, maybe, but what serves me. So these are not my values. That's all I can say. I'm not saying that I don't feel jealousy. Of course I do. Maybe sometimes less than other people, sometimes like anyone else. Just my values are not to limit the other person because I'm afraid to touch my own issues. If I have issues, I need to deal with them, and mainly with maybe a therapist or with a medicine or shamanic journeys, or each one has their own way. But like if I'm touching on such deep wounds of abandonment and fear and loneliness, I almost can say thank you to my beloved for, thank you for showing me that I'm afraid to be alone. Now it's my work. It's upon me to go and work with myself so I find my own joy.
Great. Last question on this chapter. What about responsibility when you are in a relationship, especially in a marriage? You have responsibilities on your wife or husband, right?
Such as, I don't know, such
I don't
as
know.
what do you call responsibilities?
Like, I don't remember the text, but you promise to be together forever, for example. I mean,
I
in the
never
Christian
promised.
marriage. Yeah, okay,
I
I
don't
get it.
know.
So, do you feel that you don't have any responsibilities in a
Well,
relationship?
I of course I have responsibilities, but not to be together forever. Never. I would never sign such a contract. Nothing forever. We don't know. We're not going to live forever, and we don't. We don't know what's going to happen. Sorry, just I had a cold some days ago. My responsibility is to be honest, to not to lie. For instance, I take a very high value on no lies in the relationships. So honesty, integrity. My responsibility is to take care of my own shit and not to put it on my partner to take care of me. That's a deep responsibility. So if I'm angry, she doesn't need to do something or not do something because I'm angry or I'm sad. Again, I can share it, and it's good to share it sometimes, but not from a place of guilting them or demanding. So the responsibility, there are deep responsibilities.
This requires huge inner strength. It's not easy, right? You have to be strong. You have to be like, you have to have integrity.
That's what I said. I couldn't focus on making money because I needed to focus on those things. I couldn't focus on put priority on having a job making money because I needed for years to focus on my own things, to understand how to be a human, how to be a human being. What are my emotions? Who's responsible for what's happening here? How do I take care of that? How to live in integrity? What does it mean? I think maybe now I'm ready to make some money because I kind of, a lot of things I figured out, at least to a degree, that I'm very happy with where I'm at. So I'm like, okay, let's do something.
I hope you do. Okay, back to the story. So you are together with Dawn, and what's happening in your life after the ashram?
And we create a center in Rosh Pina in the Galilee, again, doing workshops and focusing more and more on sacred sexuality and bringing realizations that I had from my Kabbalistic studies and from the interaction with Dawn into practice, where a group of people say, hey, why don't you teach us? You speak about all kind of sacred sexuality. Say, what is it? Teach us. And we said, like, are you sure? And they said, yeah. So we created a course, and in which we shared all kind of exercises, rituals. Later on, ISTA found us.
So you started teaching sacred sexuality before ISTA.
Yeah, of course. And some of the things that we did in this course, some of the exercises became exercises in ISTA. We were like totally just in Israel. There was a time I forgot. There was a time in 2010, 11, 12 that I my students in Israel wanted me to teach in a serious way, and they gathered money, and they created an academy in Tel Aviv that I was the head. They made me the head of the academy, together with my friend Shmuel Shaul. I invited him to co-head it with me, and it was an amazing academy, like with 30 different courses and a lot of students, and it was great. And then ISTA came.
And this is again second sexuality, right?
No, 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 no. This was no. This was still Kabbalah, and we called it. It was called Nevi'ah, the Hebraic Academy for Universal Spirit. So it was teaching in some ways Hebraic shamanism. So how to work with spirit from, and we called it Hebraic, not Jewish, because we went deeper into the roots of our ancestors before Judaism, when we were called Hebrews. And so we taught a lot of shamanic work and spiritual work and texts and relationships and meditations and working with nature. It was a beautiful, beautiful academy. But then ISTA showed up all of a sudden.
Maybe not everyone knows about ISTA, so it's better you tell what is ISTA for you. What was ISTA at that time?
Yeah, what I can say, what was ISTA? ISTA still exists, but it's kind of a different, very different atmosphere. Back then, ISTA was a group of crazy motherfuckers, really, like crazy teachers from all over the world. Not many. They were like, I was the fifth um, lead teacher. So there was Barbadez, Bruce Lyon, Andrew Barnes. I can't remember who else. Janine Marie.
Kareem, yeah.
Yeah, and so Janine from Australia, Bruce from New Zealand, Babades from Sedona, Arizona, Andrew Barnes from, forgot where he is from, Australia as well. And they got together and they said, I mean, actually Babades started it. Babades started it from a place that was very beautiful because he made money from business. He was a successful businessman, and he said, like, what do I want to give to the universe? What do I want to give to people? Not, it's not a way to get money, but it's like they want to give. So he put actually a lot of money and created the International School of Temple Arts. He said that he wants to bring back the arts of the ancient temples that were including sexual arts, erotic arts, and things that were neglected. And they found us. It's a whole story of how, but they found us. We went and we were teaching, and we taught in a conference they had in Sedona, Arizona. They loved us. They invited Don and I to be teachers to host ISTA in Israel. That was 2012, first ISTA in Israel, and then they invited us to teach. Long story short, I became a lead facilitator, and later on Don became a lead facilitator. She still is. I was taken into the governance of ISTA, which was like a group of three people. So that was like Bruce, Janine, and myself in a group of three people that basically don't do much but hold the space, holding the spirit, holding the vision in a humble way, and hoping that it will ripple out into the organization. The organization grew tremendously, more than we ever thought it will, and we had seminars in more than 100 countries. And yeah, when I joined ISTA, we had seminars of 14 people, 20 people. Then we ended up with seminars of 70, 80 people. Everybody wanted to come to ISTA, which was a blessing, but also a curse, because we wanted people to get this information. But what happens is that at the beginning, people came to ISTA because they were rebels, because they were the thinking out of the box people, they were the pioneers. And then it got such a name that people said to each other, what, you didn't do ISTA yet? So people felt like, oh, I need to do ISTA, otherwise I'm not cool. And then people came because they wanted to be cool. And that's actually where ISTA started to lose. We started to lose control of what's happening, and people came that shouldn't come. It's hard to filter them because they know the good words to say, the right words to say. So people came, they wanted to be cool, and they got a very cool community and an upgrade to their lives.
Do you think you also made mistakes during this era?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm saying, like, of course, I made several, so to say, mistakes. Again, I don't live in a world of regrets, and I also don't live in a world of mistakes so much. It's more like I've done decisions that retroactively I wouldn't do. Now, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't do it, but I did know it back then, right? And it led me to, even those mistakes led me to deeper understanding and growth and transformation. So it was what it was. Just like I wouldn't do the same today. And yeah, I mean, there are many aspects in the way we allowed growth to happen, in the way we allowed new teachers to come in that were not ready to hold power with humbleness. There was a lot of politics came in. Basically, politics came into ISTA. It became a successful thing. It became a successful business. And while, again, I have nothing against it, as I said in the beginning, I have nothing against money, I have nothing against success, but then came people that were motivated by success.
I mean, even in the beginning, if maybe you don't come for money or success, but then it can motivate you too. You don't start with this motivation, money and success, but when it comes, it can change. You can start to be motivated by money and success.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be in the beginning. It can change you, yeah. But you talked about decisions, and there is one decision of you which changed my life,
Yeah.
becoming an organizer in ISTA. And
Mhm.
I was not one of these people. I heard you in an interview, you were talking about me not giving my name, but it was so true that I was not ready at all to come to an ISTA training, maybe. Because it was my first retreat. At the age
Mhm.
of 33, it was my first retreat, and it was ISTA. It was too much for me. I'm a bit ashamed of what I was then.
Mhm.
Like, it was so silly. And then I wanted to become an organizer. And you said yes. If I were you, I would say no. Because really? Do you want to be an organizer for ISTA? Come on. But what is the reason behind it? Why did you accept that? And I know that there are more people telling similar stories about you. You gave me the chance, kind of.
Many times, not all of the times, I have a gift of seeing into people's potential. I'm not saying that I don't make mistakes in that, like that, sometimes I think a person has a potential for something and it didn't, or maybe I say the opposite. Maybe I say no to people that had a potential. But many times I see into people's potential, and I love growing leaders. I love growing people to blossom, to amaze themselves, I would say. I think you amaze yourself. Like, you say that you're ashamed of what you were, and I think you can look at it in a different way. You can be amazed of what transformation you went through.
Yeah, not like being ashamed of, I feel shyness in me, but like I'm laughing at him. Not with, not in a cruel way, like with compassion. Oh, this was me. And I still, I love this guy, but yeah, thank you for that.
That's the attitude, to love this guy and to have compassion and to be amazed, and to have lots of gratitude to God. God is like, wow, look at me. Look at that. It's like what you made out of me. I'm great. I'm happy about that. I love helping people do this when I see that they are sincere. I saw the sincerity in you. Like, I didn't feel that you didn't come to be a cool guy. You didn't come to, you had your shadows. Of course, everybody has their shadows, but didn't I felt some sincerity in you of a seeker. And later on, I didn't know back then, but later on you told me that you were also a very religious Muslim, and you are a seeker in your own ways. And what I felt is the vibration of your soul in that way, that is seeking for truth and seeking for God and seeking for love. And of course, so welcome.
Okay, Easter years. So it was somewhat a long period, right? More than 10 years. And then what happened? Like, if you want to share anything about this period in Easter, you are very welcome to share. And then,
Well, I resigned officially from ISTA not long ago, like some months ago. I stopped teaching in 2023, like exactly 10 years after I started teaching. I started in 2013, finished in 2023, stayed in the organization for another 2 years, and resigned, blessing ISTA to go its own way. I'm interested in other things now. And so I'm working today with people who want to upgrade their life into living sacred love as sacred love, like their whole life. So I do private retreats for people, not groups. I do also groups in a method that I developed with one of my beloveds, Katara, that you know. It's called Black Butterfly, and every several months we're doing a workshop. And again, it's not like big workshops; it's small groups. It's not for beginners. Actually, I love to take the people who already studied ISTA or something else, but did a lot of basic work. ISTA became basic work. That's also the thing. When we studied, it was the cutting edge. Now it's basic work. So go do the basic work in ISTA, and then come to me. So I'm writing a lot, I'm working a lot with people, and a lot of my work is focusing on this tremendous shift in human beings from seeing their lives as a series of mistakes, traumas, pains, with some happy moments, to a life of initiations that help them really grow into their soul mission. There is nothing that makes me more happy than seeing people living the life of their soul, not just surviving, not just having a job and a family, which is beautiful, but when you see a person that is in their mission, in their integrity, their life is pouring through them. Um,
And I guess
and
this is your soul mission, right?
and this is my soul mission. Yeah, exactly. So I'm doing my soul mission, writing some books, several parallel, because that's how my mind is working.
Well, I read the first one of the trilogy, Kadesha, and I was amazed with it. I really loved it. I just wanted to mention here. And I
You
think
didn't
that
read the second one.
not yet, unfortunately.
Okay.
I
You
have
would
to.
love it even more. I
Okay.
know you. Yeah, so the third one is one of the books that are in writing, but I'm writing a lot of. I'm about to publish the Shadow Animal Cards, which is a project that I worked on for several years, and I just completed it some weeks ago. It's going to be printed soon. It's like a deck of oracle cards that take all the animals that people love to hate, from spiders to scorpions or hyena or jellyfish, and relate to them as medicine of shadow. So a lot of my work is with shadow, which means those parts of us that are neglected and pushed away from the stage. We don't like that part of us. And actually those parts that we don't like, they hold a lot of gold, a lot of gold. And we cannot be in our full integrity unless we actually know who we are and own the wholeness of who we are. So we need to actually invite the shadow, come, because I want to know you, and through knowing you I want to know myself. So one of the tools that I developed was the shadow animal cards.
How do we use them?
It's an oracle deck. So I wrote, the reason it took me years is because I wrote for each animal. I looked into the biology. As I told you in the beginning, my education was in environmental studies. And one of my classmates became the chief scientist of Israel, of the government of Israel, a zoologist. So I also gave her kind of like to check the scientific evidence. So I looked into the biology of each animal. I didn't look into the internet of whatever people say, but I looked into, okay, what is the zoology of a cockroach? What is the biology of a jellyfish? And what's their behavior? What's unique about them? What's the uniqueness in each one of the animals? And from there, I learned how to, one of the things in shamanism is that we learn how to interpret dreams or symbolic life. But the thing is that this life is a dream too. Like we live we walk in a dream. Once you learn it, if you double click on many things in life, there are archetypes and they have symbolic meanings. So I double clicked on each of those animals and created like a deep understanding of like if this animal shows up in your life. And my friends also, constantly call me of like, hey, I just was bitten by a wasp. What does it mean? Because when animals like this meet you, this also means a lot. And then I send them the card meaning what I wrote about whatever the wasp, and usually it's like, whoa, it actually, there's a message from the wasp that is so clear to me now. And it's a message that speaks about my shadows, right? It's a shadow animal, so it speaks about something in me that I don't want to see, But the thing is that I will quote Katara. She says, she loves this sentence. She says, "Our greatest gifts are born from our deepest wounds." So if I understand my deepest wound and my shadow, the things that I don't want to know about myself, this is an invitation to realize my greatest gift. So if I have a shadow of a wasp, let's say, there is also the wasp has a superpower. It's not a bad animal. It has a superpower, but we need to understand how the shadow and the superpower are connected. And only owning the shadow and integrating the shadow can lead us to the superpower.
Wow. I would say wow. That's amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing these cards.
I'm just thinking maybe once they're out, maybe we'll create a course in the Academy of working with the cards.
Great. So you still teach Kabbalah also?
Yeah, I have courses online for Kabbalah and I teach Kabbalah. I teach my Kabbalah, I would say it. I don't there are many people who teach Kabbalah and it's a different thing. I'm not in the Jewish tradition in that way. I'm not part of the religion. I'm not saying that the Kabbalists knew everything. They knew the code of existence. This is rubbish. There were some wise people and there is something to learn from them, from some of them. And sometimes I read the whole text with people and it's like, and this sentence is unfortunate, because a lot of those, let's put it in a clear way, it was all written by men for men in a patriarchal society, bringing back the feminine aspect and allowing women to come into leadership. We need to realize that sometimes even in the classical texts there's rubbish. It's just like things that are coming from their bias, their fear from women, their patriarchal. They live in patriarchal society. Sometimes they don't even pay attention that they say a chauvinist sentence. So I say it's like, this take out.
No text is perfect, right?
No text is perfect. Sacred texts are beautiful texts, and they were written by humans that brought their personality into those texts. And the way I look at things is that I inherited those books and this wisdom like someone who inherits a castle, a beautiful castle from the family. You can create it as a museum of like, don't touch, don't move, just walk. And I don't like this. I inherited this castle and I want to live in the castle. So, I want to break a wall, make a big window, put a jacuzzi, things that my grandparents didn't think, cable TV, whatever. Yeah.
You said you're teaching your Kabbalah, but also you're teaching your sacred sexuality, right?
You can say so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand that you're teaching a couple of things, but the main thing, main soul mission is to help people to find their soul missions. This is the thing,
Oh,
right?
my soul mission is to one of my soul missions is to help people find their soul mission and live it, not only find it but live it, from integrity and depth and courage.
And that's orgasmic for you, right? You love it, right? I am stating it because I can see it, I feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Ohad, when I'm talking to you, it feels like we can continue this forever. I can talk to you like hours and hours. There's so much wisdom, and I would love to hear. But for today, I'm going to ask you if you would like to add anything, and then we can close.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I'm creating a lot of content today, and I'm going to create now. You're going to hear from me soon because I'm going to create in like a learning community online that is like not a course of like we're on 10 meetings or something like that, but something that is ongoing. I have students or people that are connected to me that are from all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, America, and I want to be in touch with them, and I don't want to travel all the time, and I want to be in touch also not like in a week here or but actually like an ongoing study that also they meet with each other. And I think one of the great things that exist in my life is that I'm surrounded with high quality people, highly intelligent, radical people, and many of them are leaders of themselves. They're teachers, they are business people, they are people in key positions, and I want to bring them all together into an online weekly meeting in which I would teach, but also we will have some more organic, question answers. People meet with each other, talk about the things. I would say that what we spoke about the mistakes of my mistakes in ISTA. One of the mistakes that I'm trying to fix now, to do different, is that we didn't do the deepening, the ongoing deepening. So we came to town like a circus. It was like a circus comes to town, an amazing week or 2 weeks of seminars, and then we're gone. And people can just come to another retreat or something. We didn't do, also the online thing was not so strong, but we didn't do is like the ongoing study, deepening text study, conversations, arguments even. In the Jewish tradition, one of the beautiful things is like you argue. That's okay. You argue with your teacher. You don't need to agree. Yeah. So this is my next thing that I'm working on now, is to how to actually create the vessel for that. It's going to be soon out, and I hope to see a lot of my people there, even people who don't know me yet. I'm creating a series of videos that will explain, the basics for people. And what I'm interested is in this, as I said, I'm a long-term relationship person. Like you and I are in long-term relationship, right? I'm in a long-term thing. I want the continuous education and deepening of the community. And this didn't happen. And because of that, people were, they went into a seminar, then they went back into their lives, sucked into the common mindset of the matrix of the regular normie life. And then sometimes they looked at like things they did and it's like, oh, that was wrong. All my friends tell me that was wrong. I did something that was not cool. So then, they came to be cool and then they find themselves not cool. So they blame. The easiest thing is to blame, and the easiest thing is to blame the spiritual teachers, the gurus. So those who want to blame will blame. Those who want to believe will believe. My responsibility is to help people who want to deepen to have the place to do that.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But Pele, thank you very much. I enjoyed it a lot, and I hope who listens to it will enjoy it. And thank you for not only this meeting, but thank you for all. Thank you for being you.
Thank you. Thank you, Murad,